Sometimes less is more. Other times, more is better. With the 2019 S-Works Venge, Specialized has gone with less drag, less weight, and less overall bulk and harshness to its aero bike compared to the outgoing Venge Vias. There are also a few things in the more category. There's more adjustability. There's a power meter. It all adds up to what I feel, having done one ride on the thing, is a pretty sweet overall aero race bike. So let's look at some of the numbers. Specialized has shaved a whopping 460 grams off the frame, bringing a size 56 down to a 960 gram weight. That's with the lightest paint job they can put on there. The handlebar, the Aerofly 2, is down to 235 grams. The whole bike built up, as you see it here, weighs 7.1 kilos, or just over 15.5 pounds. That's built up with the Roval CLX 64 wheels, Shimano Di2 9170 hydraulic group set, and all the high-end fixins. One more number to note, the back-end compliance has improved by 40% compared to the Venge Vias, which is a good thing. Now, while Specialized will say that this new bike is faster, it won't put a specific number on the grams of drag of this bike versus the old one. They'll say things like this bike is 8% faster at 0 degree yaw over the Venge Vias, and a few more seconds faster at greater yaw angles. Now let's talk about some of the mores. In some ways we've seen aero bikes go from the far end of basically a time trial super bike with drop bars, and they're now scooching back closer to what a normal high-end road race bike would be. For instance, the cockpit. The absolute fastest way to build an aero road front end is as a monocoque, where the stem and the handlebar are one fixed and very skinny piece. That's great in a wind tunnel. That doesn't necessarily make for what's ideal in your garage or out on the road, where it's nice to be able to make small but important little tweaks. So I think Specialized has hit a nice balance here by having an aero bar with integrated routing in the bar itself, but then what's frankly a pretty standard stem. So you can switch stem lengths and angles. There's stems come between 80 and 140 millimeter. And then the housing and Di2 wire runs underneath the stem. So it's you still get the vast majority of the aero benefits of having an integrated cockpit, but you can still adjust the bike as needed. This is important because, as you know, the biggest drag is you. In that, the biggest aerodynamic drag in the bike-rider combination is the rider. So getting yourself comfortable into what is a sustainable aero position, that's of primary importance. So I think it's worth sacrificing a tiny bit of aero drag on the bike itself in order to get the rider nice and happy. Another more, an integrated power meter. I think bikes that cost this much, that are billed as out and out race bikes, should come with a power meter. Because just like you, the rider, are the biggest drag on the forward progress, you, the rider, are also the most important element as far as propelling the thing. And having a power meter to train with is the best way to improve that part of the equation. The Specialized power meter is a carbon crankset with separate left-right measurement. The internals are made by 4Eyes. I've only tested this bike once, but I've tested the Tarmac, which also comes with the same meter, quite a bit. And while not perfect, it's an absolutely usable, functional training tool. So the fact that the bike comes with this thing is a positive, and I think I'd like to see more companies follow suit. Now, it's easy enough in terms of concept to set targets for what weight should be and what aero drag should be. Achieving them is another thing altogether. But compare that to setting targets for how a bike should feel, and that gets a little softer. Now, Specialized, like a lot of other big companies, uses extensive rider feedback, but distilling verbal feedback into a hard numeric target is challenging. What Specialized found in using a lot of pro riders is that past a certain point, it was easier for riders to tell differences in weight than in stiffness. So going from a heavier bike to a lighter bike, riders could tell the difference and appreciate the difference. Sometimes they'd even say that bike, the lighter one, felt stiffer, even though it wasn't necessarily a stiffer bike, it was just a lighter bike. Contrast that to testing bikes that were the same weight, but one was a little bit stiffer than the other. Sometimes riders, even high-end, high-level riders, couldn't discern the difference there. So the specialized takeaway from that was that lighter is a good thing, not just as far as an engineer target, but as far as a rider benefit that you can feel on the road. Now for me, I liked the way that the original Venge Vias rode. It's, you know, a TT superbike with drop bars. It was not the lightest of things, certainly, and the rim brakes were not the best. But for going quickly by yourself or in a group, it was a heck of a fun machine to ride. Having tested that and then tested this new superbike, you can definitely feel the benefit of a lighter overall bike underneath you. This feels more like a great road race bike, not just a dedicated aero machine that goes fast in a straight line. So while the S-Works Venge has great adjustability in terms of the cockpit, which is a good thing if you ask me for a high-end aero race bike, there is zero options as far as the build. Right now the S-Works Venge is hydraulic only, Di2 only. Not that that's a bad thing. The Shimano Dura-Ace 9170 group is fantastic, but right now you can have anything you like as long as it's that one. So the term scary fast is a dumb cliche, but I think it's appropriate here. In my one 90-minute test ride on the thing, chickened out a few times and had to hit the brakes going down descents, following my friend Chris. I like to go downhill fast, so it was telling, I thought, to be on a bike that wanted to go faster than I did. Right now you can read more about this bike on BikeRadar.com, and as soon as I get my greedy little hands on a test bike for a longer term, I'll be updating my review on the site as well.